Diane Dulken, Accessabubbly, how accessibility helps everyone through the medium of a pretend hangover.
Thanks, everyone. As Sarah said, my name's Diane Dulken, and I'm here to talk about the importance of your business being accessible. By the end, I hope to have proven that everyone, including everybody in this room, will have experienced disability at some point of time in their life. Now, I'm not going to be doing that through the medium of pain, you'll be glad, did I hear? But I'm not going to hurt you, but I am going to make you look at some truly, truly terrible websites, which I sacrificed myself to actually make for you. So please forgive me. Now, if you've been in web development or on the web at all, you would have heard we don't have disabled people come to our site. As was mentioned before, we don't have disabled people read news. We don't have disabled people come to our sites at all. But you may have known somebody who has partied a little bit too hard, pulled an all-nighter, started a Netflix binge about 10 p.m, had a newborn who just won't settle all night, had their heart broken, had horrible jet lag, been bitten by a vampire, or discovered cheese and had absolutely no restraint. Or have done anything else that's left them with a headache, an aversion to light, and a sudden urge to eat things that they wouldn't normally eat. And for those who can't see, I'm showing a picture of myself thinking about junk food. In this talk, we're going to have a look at some of the accessibility fails that will make them leave your site fast. Because these people are common and they will be visiting your site and you want to keep them. Okay, so let's start off with something that I'm sure that absolutely no one here has ever done, but it is pretty popular on the web. Flashing. It does grab people's attention. Oh God. But not in a good way. There is absolutely no excuse for this. It will drive people away quicker than a rat out of an aqueduct. The next one we're going to look at is WCAG 1.4.3 contrast. Now, this is a page, as you can see, it's a little bit light. For those who can't see, I'm showing a website that's got sort of like a light beige primary colour. It's not too bad, it's a bit light, but it certainly doesn't pass. It's actually sort of, I grabbed the colour from the colour of a pizza. So the crust of a pizza, it's the perfect crust of a pizza, and your bosses might say we need to match our perfect pizza crust. However, if someone needs for some reason to put on their sunglasses, oh my God, and turn down the brightness of their monitor, you will see that it suddenly becomes completely unreadable. I'll just take my sunglasses off again. Now, this is actually quite a dark overlay I've put on here, but if it had matched WCAG 1.4.3, it still would have been readable, and I would be getting pizza. I wouldn't be going, oh, no, please, no, not that. Now, this one is looking at WCAG 1.1.1, non-text content. I don't know what this is, but it looks perfect for what I need. I need to know what it is and what's in it so I can get one. However, again, nothing shows on mouse over. Nothing. If I go to inspect, there's no alt text, there's no title. So I have absolutely no idea what to order. All Food Bro needed to do was to put an alt text and a title, and I would be ignoring the fact that I'm a vegetarian and getting a halal snack pack. But as it is, I'm moving on, hungry and frustrated. Now, this is a picture of some pad thai, perfect for one of these situations. It's exactly what I need, and if you have a look, you'll see that it's allowing me to choose exactly what I want in my pad thai. I'm having some tofu, having a bit of peanuts, I'm having some cashews. I better actually put some noodles in there since that's what makes the pad thai. Adding some carrot. Unfortunately, by this time, I'm sort of sitting there like this, holding my aching head because it just won't stand up by itself. And I'm doing everything with my keypad and my keyboard. Now, you can make dragging and dropping accessible by keyboard, but most sites that I've seen don't do it. And I have noticed that dragging and dropping is now a really fashionable thing. People like it on their sites, but they don't actually include the accessibility requirements for making a keyboard accessible. So again, I'm out of here. No pad thai for me. Now, I do normally use the keyboard to navigate, whether I'm in recovery or not. And one of the biggest annoyances when I'm using a keyboard is menus, especially mega menus, which is where WCAG 2.4.1 bypass blocks comes in. So, as you can see, if you're looking at the video, when you actually just don't have bypass blocks, people tend to go a bit tab crazy. You go tab, 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 tab to get rid of all the menu stuff, and you end up somewhere on the page. Who knows where on the page? It's really frustrating. If you had a bypass block, you can go directly to the area that you actually need to be. But burger guys didn't do this, so I'm not getting a burger either. Now this site, which is a burrito site, has a skip, but it's missing WCAG 2.4.7, which requires you to show focus. Now I know this has been mentioned over the rest of the conference, but a lot of bosses do want you to get rid of your focus. But I'll just show you what happens when you do that. You're on the screen and you have absolutely no idea where you are. You don't know if you should be tabbing again, you don't know if you should be reading, you don't know if you should be pressing down, you absolutely have no idea what's going on the screen at all. So again, let's move away, no burritos for me. Now this one is a video for banh mi. I love banh mi. I absolutely adore banh mi. So this is extremely tempting. But sometimes it's the little things that turn customers away. In this case, there's no indication, besides colour, whether which is on and which is off for adding garlic. Now, if I was colourblind, or if I'd turned off colour, or if I had my brightness way down, or if I'd been bitten by a werewolf, I'm sure they're colourblind, I would have absolutely no clue. You could assume that to the right was on, but that's an assumption. There's nothing there to actually tell me that right is on, left is off. And if I had been bitten by a vampire, I really need to know about the garlic thing. So this is too big a risk for me, no banh mi. Now this site, which is focus order, doesn't have anything obviously wrong with it. For one thing, it's selling me chocolate. Chocolate, wonderful. However, the site owner has tried to be clever with tab index, meaning that you jump all over the place. So in this video, you start at the top, you go down the bottom, you go up the top, you go down the bottom, and you tab all over the place using tab index. Now, I can't emphasise this enough. Leave the tab index alone. If your website is well structured, you generally have logical focus order. If you don't have logical focus order, your website's not well structured and you need to restructure it. If you use apps that force tab index, and there are a few out there, probably the most common one is Add This. So a lot of people have Add This on their site and that forces tab index. There is a way to turn it off, so make sure you find that. If you were in Rick's talk next door yesterday, you would have found that he was talking about tab index for focus. But the things that he was actually talking about is using tab index 0 or -1, which is a bit nerdy, so I'm not sure how many nerds are here. But all that really does is actually make a site focusable, but doesn't actually set the order. So it doesn't actually force you to do things in a particular order. So no chocolate for me. Okay, finally, I have found a site that is going to deliver me something delicious, in this case, an ice cream sundae. Yes, that will meet my needs. And it doesn't have any obvious errors. Now to fill out the form. I'm filling in my name. Slowly. I'm filling in my address. I'm skipping the phone because I never answer my phone. I hate phone calls. Filling out my email address. Putting in my credit card, not my real one, don't try to steal it. And hitting submit. And getting an alert box that says you have to fill in your phone, and then clearing the form. Okay, I'm not throwing my laptop out the window, but it takes a lot of restraint. All I'm doing is closing the browser and moving on, which has, alas, left me at home with a salad. Really, absolutely shocking. This has not satisfied me at all, and it's left me thinking really, really harsh thoughts about these companies. And if they were real companies, not just dodgy websites I'd put up, then they wouldn't have just missed out of me buying from them now, but buying from me from all time. They've left a bad taste in my mouth, not the delicious taste I was after. The rules are, if you don't meet my needs in my bad times, in my times of pain, then you don't get my money in the good times. Now, these were pretty silly examples, but they do relate to real life. So I'm going to look at myself for a second. When browsing the web, I'm probably going to be one-handed due to patting my dog. There's a picture of my dog. Isn't he adorable? That is my dog. I'm a bit of a klutz, so I need large enough links to click on my mobile. Picture of me staring at my mobile, looking extremely confused. My daughter always watches videos with closed captions on because she has ADD. I do as well. Or you might be in the quiet carriage of a train and your headphones stop working. Closed captions again. Captions really help for that. I wear multifocals now, so I find really small text and low contrast text extremely hard to deal with, as well as stairs. And that is before I even mention again that I have ADD, so I find things like carousels and automatic playing videos and things that move absolute hell on earth. There is no better way to get me to leave your site than to have one of those on there. So what about you guys? You might say, I don't have ADD, I don't wear multifocals, I don't have a daughter. I said at the very start that everybody has experienced a disability. Now, these are called situational disabilities. So, if you've ever had lunch at your desk, you've had a situational disability. If you've ever had to listen to too much noise, such as jackhammers, you have had a situational disability. If you've ever been affected by sun glare or been sick and your brain just does not work, you've had a situational disability. They are everywhere, and most of us encounter them several times a year. Between 1 in 5 and 1 in 7 people have a disability. There are many, many, many more with situational disabilities. All of us occasionally have situational disabilities. This is a very large section of the population, and you can't afford to turn them away from your sites. You can't afford to say, don't need their business. We've all got a story about a site that drove us nuts, whether it's because it's not letting you know that a field was essential before you had to hit submit, or it's not giving us enough time before something moves. So you're trying to read stuff and it moves. I hate that. Or there's sudden blaring music in the office and you have to suddenly go shut, 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 shut. All of these things are actually covered in accessibility requirements. And if you follow WCAG, you would not actually be turning people off. Now, if you still have bosses who doubt them, ask them to think about the ramps on footpaths. This is a bit of a cliche, but it still holds really, really true. These are, of course, designed for people with wheelchairs, but they are used by absolutely everyone, from parents with prams, to travellers with luggage, to skateboarders, to bike riders, to people with bad backs, to people who did the City to Surf without any training, not that I know anybody who's ever done that, to people with granny trolleys doing their shopping, to people who are stealing the shopping trolleys from the shopping centre. So hopefully I've convinced you that you need to make your sites accessible, or you are going to lose customers. Does it seem too hard? Well, the good news is that it really isn't. As long as you start with accessibility in mind, you should be fine. It's called inclusive design. And it means that you start right at the very beginning thinking of accessibility, not leaving it at the end. Otherwise, you're going to be doing the equivalent of building a terrace house and then going, oh, I didn't want stairs. And the other good news is that it's is accessible by choice. The web is actually, by default, accessible. If you don't try to do fancy things, if you have enough contrast, then your website should be, by default, pretty accessible. However, we want to be fancy, obviously. So there are 4 main things to think about if you want to be fancy. The first one is perceivable. Now this is really easy to check. Turn your CSS off and just see that you can see absolutely everything you need without actually having to have all those images and styles and things. Operable. Check to see that people can get to your stuff, whether using the mouse or the keyboard, and the order makes sense. So with my devs, we've got a checklist of things that we need to do before we send it to test. And there's a few things there, but one of them is make sure that you've keypadded or you've just used your keyboard to go through the website and that you can absolutely get to everything. The other one's voiceover, and obviously that it looks like it's supposed to, because otherwise the designers get really, really grumpy. The next one is understandable. The rule of thumb is that writing on the web should be for 14-year-olds. So whilst you may know really wonderful words, I've got a fantastic book called the Smart Person's Little Book of Words, which is full of fantastic obscure words that nobody knows. My personal favourite is zaftig. It means desirably plump and curvaceous. That's me. But if I were to use that on the website, people would be going, I have no idea what she's talking about. And finally, predictable. This is where things are predictably where you would expect them to be. So don't do things like take your search box and move it from up the right-hand corner where everybody expects the search box to be, to putting it under a menu, for example, which I have seen. Don't do things like sometimes have your navigation on the left, sometimes have it on the right, sometimes don't bother with navigation at all. Don't break the back button. This is something that every single boss has always said, I want to keep people on my website. If they go to another website, put it in a new tab. If you're going to do that, let people know that you're doing that, because otherwise they might want to come back to your site and have no idea how to do it. So don't break the back button. They're all really, really easy things. Oh, I forgot to. And I know you had this quote yesterday, but I'm going to say it again. Do the best you can until you know better. And then when you do know better, do better. You don't need to have a perfectly accessible site to start off with, but you do need to try. Accessibility is essential to some, but it actually helps everybody. Just like those ramps help everybody. Your site should have the same things. And if you do not make your site as accessible as you can, you are turning customers away. Not some, but a lot. So accessibility is not something that's just the right thing to do or you do because it's a legal obligation. It's the only thing that makes good business sense. Thank you. There's a couple of pages that I can give you. I wrote a post on Medium called Introduction to Accessibility that goes over a lot of these points. The other 2 are actually starting points on WCAG, just to give you ideas about that. On Twitter, I'm Bartholomew D, name of one of my dogs. And on email, it's dogmac@gmail.com. And that's it. I will also leave you with some acknowledgements because I used a lot of Creative Commons images. Okay, thank you very much.
No? Yeah, there we go. Thank you, Di. We actually have a few minutes if anyone had any questions for Di. No? How many people have... Oh, no, I have a question.
Doing a website for my company. So what is the minimal thing I should do so my company doesn't have any accessibility? What is the first thing I should say to my boss for us to do?
What you should say to your boss is, I would point out to your boss that they are occasionally disabled. And get them to think about things like eating your lunch at your desk and only having one hand available. Also point out that a lot of the people who are in these situational disability circumstances don't have the fancy tools. So they do need to be just common sense solutions that will actually solve accessibility issues, because it's not necessarily somebody who's using JAWS. As I showed, if I'm wanting to find something else, I will just hover my mouse over the top. A title will show that, and if I can't get something from that, I might turn the images off and read it, or I might go go and look at the inspect, because I'm a nerd, that's what I do. But that's what most people do. If you it's something that everybody absolutely does. So a hint for you, as I said, which we do with our testers, is if before you send off things off to test, we look to see it looks like it's supposed to, then we turn the CSS off. Can we still see everything? Turn the CSS back on. Can we get everywhere with a keypad? And then we listen to it either using NVDA or just using the one on Mac that I have momentarily forgotten what it's called. VoiceOver, yes. So everybody can do that, and everybody does use that sometimes. And there's every type of accessibility requirement everybody needs occasionally. Not always, but occasionally.
Lovely, thank you. Any further questions? I think it's a great point that Di is making. You know, we often sort of talk about or at least I call them the lies, damn lies and statistics, where people get caught up on sort of the statistics that, you know, 1 in 5 people have a disability according to the census and that kind of thing. But if you can shift the conversation, like Di has demonstrated, to, you know, the temporary and the situational, then it becomes less about a small number of statistics or the edge of a bell curve to being a lot of a bigger sort of, I guess, group that benefits from what we do when we do make a website more accessible.
Yeah, it really is. It's basically like making a terrace house and then saying, I don't want stairs. It doesn't make sense to have a website that's not accessible. It really doesn't. It is not good business. It is very bad for your business. And so if your boss tells you that accessibility is too hard, just tell him, get him to think about how much it would cost him if they can't do that. So it doesn't matter what type of website either. I used food here, but for example, holidays, if I'm booking a holiday, I've got a glass of wine in my hand. That's when I go to have holidays. If it's clothes shopping, any type of website, even if you're trying just to give information to people and they're not trying to buy things, as it really is a case of no matter what type of website you have, the more accessible it is, the more people it will match. You don't know what people's situations are at home. You can't see through the computer to see what they're like. You can't see what they're going through. And so therefore, you really need to ensure that you're catering for all types of people.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Di.
Thank you.